The Molina Story, Part 4 of the Molina Family Theater. Brought to you by the ARZ Television Broadcasting System. Tonight's episode, the family begins its journey towards the American dream. By 1950, the family had all emigrated to the U.S. and started to establish themselves and their new lives in their new country. In 1950, we find Herminio working as a restaurant proprietor at El Toreador Restaurant in New York and Tonita working as a factory worker for a New York biscuit company, and living with their son Hector at 939 Intervale Avenue, Apartment 5 in the Bronx. Their daughter Elena was born May 5, 1951 in Manhattan. Then, in 1956, they bought a home and moved to Coconut Grove in Florida. His daughter Merda married Alfred Arzapalo on February 22, 1951, in the Church of St. Paul at 113 East 117th Street in Manhattan. Alice Molina was their matron of honor. Her daughter Nancy, the flower girl, and Mickey Molina was one of the groomsmen. Meanwhile, back in New York, Merda and Alfred, known as Freddie, welcomed their first son Alfred Arthur, who was born in Manhattan on January 28, 1956. Followed by their second son, Stephen Lewis, on January 6, 1959. In April 1950, Antonio was working as chief cook in a restaurant in New York. He was living at 939 Intervale Avenue, apartment 3E in the Bronx, with his wife Hilda, his son Antonio Jr., known as Sonny, and their daughter Gilda. They subsequently moved to Miami, Florida, where he and Hilda divorced in 1954. He then remarried his first wife, Hortensia, later that year in 1957. They divorced. Celia was working in a dress factory as a sewing machine operator and living with her daughter Nancy and sister Mercedes at 922 Loretto Street, apartment number 52 in the Bronx. Nancy married Amadeo Rebolo on January 20, 1955 in San Diego, California, where their daughter Estelle Barbara was born on March 3, 1955. Their son Richard Joseph was born on August 30, 1956 in New York City. Dos Rio Orocho and Mercedes' first child, a daughter, Maria Mercedes, was born on September 28, 1950 in New York City, and 2 years later their second child, Michael, was born on April 3, 1952 in New York. At this point in time, Mario was employed at a restaurant as a bartender, while Carmen was a beauty parlor proprietor. They resided at 2735 Seymour Avenue in the Bronx with their son Michael, known as Mickey, their daughter Eileen, and his mother-in-law Benigna Rodriguez. The April 1950 U.S. Census lists Gustavo working as a watchmaker and owner of a jewelry store. He was living with his wife Olga at 150 78th Avenue, apartment number 35 in Queens, with their son Raymond, his mother-in-law Violeta Bautista, and niece Gloria Fernandez. In 1955, they welcomed their second son Robert, who was born on July 12th in New York City. Alfonso was working as a watchmaker with Miguel at their jewelry store, M&M Jewelry, located at 957 East 163rd Street in the Bronx. He was living with his wife Alice at 233 45th Street in Manhattan with their son Ricky, their daughter Nancy, and his in-laws Henry and Lucy Tressari. In July 1955, they traveled to Cuba on Pan American World Airways flight number 433 and returned to the U.S. on board the Panamanian vessel, the City of Key West, 10 days later. We hope you enjoyed tonight's episode, Part 4 of the Molina family story, our exploration of the family history of the 20th century. Our next episode will follow the family throughout the 1960s. Stay tuned to this station for listings of our next episode. Till then, we wish you all good night.